Hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast. Today, we're talking about skills shortages. And I'm here with three of my colleagues from Noventum, with Hilbrand, Marietta, and Dave. This topic of skills shortages was discussed at the recent Service Business Forum event that was held in Zurich on the 7th and 8th of March. And we're going to talk about some of the research that we did associated with this topic, and then how that research was discussed with the service leaders who attended the Service Business Forum event. So what are we talking about when we're talking about skills shortages? This is primarily in the technology service space. The issue was raised at a recent Service Business Forum event by the service leaders as one of the top issues. And so we felt that we needed to carry out some research into the background and then bring the subject for further discussion. Now, you may think that skills shortages is a bit of a surprising topic because we've been dealing with changing skills requirements for decades. But what has made this issue more acute today? And that was really what we were trying to find out. So we carried out some research, and at the high level, you've got the World Economic Forum stating things like by 2030, there could be 85 million jobs globally that remain unfilled due to skills shortages. Additionally, we're at the point where the baby boomer generation is contributing towards the skills and the experience gap. The fastest growing roles relative to their size today are driven by technology, digitalization, and sustainability, with technology being the biggest driver. So roles like data analysts, artificial intelligence, machine learning specialists. But interestingly, going back to that 85 million unfilled roles by 2030, the impact of new technology is expected to be a net positive over the next 5 years. So this is identifying a loss of jobs in some sectors, but a significant increase in others. And just to emphasize the importance of this subject, in our survey, 67% of the service leaders asked stated that they did not feel that they had the skills that they need to fulfill future service requirements. So given that introduction, Dave, can you give us a sort of overview of how that research and that information was received by the service leaders at the business forum and what their responses to it were?
Thank you, Martin. Yes, I can. It was actually very inspiring and highly interesting to have these very experienced service managers in one room and discussing those topics. And the root causes we discussed and we dove into deeper were manifold, really. One is a very basic thing, the pure capacity shortage. So you have SLAs to fulfill, man hours to deliver, but you simply don't have the capacity for that. That is nothing new, but it was certainly one root cause, one topic we looked into. More newer effects of today's society is that we now are having employees which are of the millennial generation and who have a different view on the work-life balance than the generations before those. So it's more about the optimal work-life balance, and they are not necessarily attracted by the standard career path we have all been seeing in the last many years. And then thirdly, there is or there can be a shortage of capacity simply by low employee retention. So why is it then that employees don't stay long in a job? And what can be done about this? And lastly, this has a lot to do with the rapidly changing technologies and the newer, more modern, high-performance business service delivery models. It's about having the right skills how to keep the right skills and how to do this on a continuous base. So highly interesting topics we discussed.
Yeah, it sounds good. And I guess from creating those sort of root cause situations, you moved into sort of solutioning, or were these the? I'm guessing they weren't easy solutions. So, what happened in that part of the forum?
Yeah, that is a nice part of having dedicated time outside of your business environment and sharing these kind of thoughts. And it's not easy to find the perfect answer on all these root causes. But we worked in 3 different groups, and we selected root causes which we thought we can really do something with. And then we're generating or developing the solutions to those root causes. So in the group I was moderating, one topic which stood out rather quickly was, if you have a large set of engineers, field service engineers, and they are supposed to be productive by doing maintenance, repairing systems and all that, but they are also pretty busy with doing administrative tasks, or even busy with allocating the right part for the right issue. These are, as somebody in the group called it, non-added value activities of a field service engineer. So it really removes the productivity of the person. And the question was now, how can we turn that around? And so the answer to that, which some of the attendants already implemented, is we can specialize further these different topics. One is the obvious one, or maybe 2. Make sure that the administrative tasks are minimalized, are automated, and what is left over is done by a dedicated admin person rather than by spending hours of a field service engineer. The spare parts topic was one which came up multiple times. So I think many companies still struggle with having a legacy install base and allocating the right parts. So why not have 1-2 people focusing on only that? And that can be an office function, but it need not be a field function. A third one, which I found very interesting, was sometimes the field service engineers are busy with application support, with helping the customer to be more successful. That requires a special set of skills, which is maybe a bit beyond the, let's say, standard profile of a field service engineer. But if multiple field service engineers are busy with this, it's not the most effective way. So why not say, hey, within a group of, let's say, 30 engineers, I dedicate one of them especially for this special field applications, which really take the customer by the hand and really help him to be more successful with the equipment he bought from our company. Doing this, you release the field service engineer from another task again, which is a time-consuming task, which opens up more capacity for their daily jobs. Yeah, I would like to hand over to you, Marietta.
I would add one solution to this. So within my group, we continued the discussion on skills management, actually driven by the question where we have, for example, technicians in a specific regions. So also exchange those and putting them on jobs where technicians are needed. But often there was the challenge of, well, there's a different skill required. Are we sure this technician can really do the job? So having really the question of, have we defined the skills in the right way within our organization? So having a clear defined skill metrics, not only showing these are the skills we have, so also being able to assess, being able with this also to define there is a gap, so training on these specific skills, and by this also developing this into a career path for the technicians. So defining the skill set and defining these definitions on a global harmonized level helps not only in ensuring everybody speaks about the same skills, it enables the transfer of technicians, but also ensures the transparency of where the technician is right now and where to continue further. But well, we also discussed it further in the other groups, so I'm sure Hilbert can also explain the other solutions they discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my group, the words change management and adoptions were mentioned quite often. On the one hand, in relation to setting the right expectation with the people, that there is no job anymore that is not subject to constant change. And as a person, you have to be continuously learning. So whoever, as a company, if you set the wrong expectation that this is a job and it will stay stable for a long time, that's the wrong expectation. So you need to make your people aware that constant change, constant learning is expected from them, and adoption of new technologies, new methods, and it is more and more about knowledge that they have to manage nowadays. So also as a company and as the leaders of in the service organizations, you have to get used to the idea that you have to also become more flexible in the way you manage your people, your team. Yeah, so also in terms of hiring, there's obviously, as we said before, there's many different expectations nowadays. So more flexibility to accept people that may work part-time, perhaps older employees that do not want to travel so much anymore, or just want to work fewer days in the week, having different conditions, flexing, I say rotating jobs, things like that. You have to really become more flexible, not stick to a very strict regime, and constantly looking for feedback on how the, let's say, employee experience is, and act on it. So one of the key themes for service leaders is to take more and more that leadership role, making sure that you do whatever you can to sort of engage your people, make sure that they're not leaving because you weren't talking to them, and accommodating and proactively approach these employees. I think that's one of the key topics. So the leadership topic, really, engagement and leadership makes all the difference.
Thanks, Hilbrand. It seems to me from what you guys have been saying, I asked at the beginning, or I posed the question at the beginning of, this has been a topic that's been in the service business for many years, but what has made it so acute now? And I think from what you're saying, this is a combination of things: the rate of change of technology, and probably particularly the social change. We've had some big worldwide events like the worldwide global pandemic, of course, and the emergence of artificial intelligence. And so this whole rate of change has got faster, and it seems that it's created a different expectation, both with the service organizations, with the employees themselves, and maybe with the customers. And so it is really a top issue for people to consider. But at the end of the day, you're still talking about employees and the way in which people are dealt with. So what would you say were really the conclusions out of the discussion in Zurich? So
we had many, let's say, almost detailed discussions on concrete solutions. And there's quite a long list of those coming out of this, and with some really interesting insights. But I think it's important to step a little bit away from it and look at it from a bit higher level. I think today is not good enough to just continue to do what we always did if there was a shortage. Let's try to hire more and have a search process which we always did through HR and in the normal process. I think today, taking all these aspects in consideration, we have to broaden this horizon and say this is a strategic topic. So how strategically can we address this shortage? And then you really have to look of dealing with this new delivering models of service, this high performance delivery models. That changes the need for different skills. You have to look at the new technologies coming at you and try to be very short on the ball there, that you cannot wait too long with anticipating on that. And you have to look at solutions which really embrace employees of new generations, to get them on board, to embrace them when they are on board, that they stay on board, but also look at the handover at the end of the let's say career path of the older employees. How can you make sure these people really transfer their knowledge? And there were some very nice concrete ideas about this also. So I think looking at it from a bit the bigger distance and looking at it more strategically, and then starting your hiring process and starting your or revamping your processes to keep your employees and really embrace them is very, very important. Hilbrand, in your discussions, a lot of that came above also.
No, I totally agree with you, and I may just add to this, to your conclusions, that in the 2 days, I mean, I probably must have heard hundreds of smaller solutions and big solutions. And I think we got a deeper understanding of all the root causes. So as you said, like defining the issue as skill shortage is it's not it's too simple. And there are so many possible solutions for it. I think it is, generally speaking, it is manageable. It is absolutely not for everybody the same solutions, so there is no silver bullet. But there are so many things that are very practical that you can start with, let's say, tomorrow to address the topic. If you look at the more structural changes that are needed, there's, I would say, light at the end of the tunnel. We mentioned it, like creating high efficiency, remote by default delivery models, the use of AI solutions. So, let's say the leadership topics, focusing on engagement. So there are so many possible solutions, and yeah, you have to set up and implement your own approach to this. So we have just today, we've just discussed a couple of possible solutions, but there is so much more.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Hilbrand. And maybe we can conclude the session with each of you just briefly mentioning your key takeaway. Let's start with you, Dave.
Yeah, so I think I have 3 takeaways. One is embrace today's reality, whether it's technology or changing social behavior. The second one is be creative and flexible and tackle this strategically. And the third one is talk to other service leaders like we did in the Service Business Forum. It's so inspiring. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Marietta, maybe your takeaways.
Indeed, I would like to add also on the language. So ensuring there's an exchange not only between employees, organization, but also externally. What is happening, remaining in communication, but then also when you communicate, ensure that you speak about the same. So ensuring there is a transparency in communication, in measuring and monitoring, and ensuring that both sides can keep away with the same understanding.
Thanks so much. And finally, yourself, Hilbrand.
Well, I think after having discussed all of the both technical solutions and the process, the methods, I think the main conclusion is that it's probably an old saying that the service business still is very much a people business. And that's, of all the things that I've heard in the 2 days, I think that's the most important conclusion. So the leadership topic, the engagement, that makes the biggest difference.
Great. Well, I'd just like to thank you all for joining today and for contributing towards this discussion. And thank you very much. And thanks to the Service Business Forum as well. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.